Hello, brothers and sisters of the Briar. Professor Jeremiah here, and Dash, fast asleep. Have I joined the cult? Today I'm smoking my Savinelli on Friday. I've not really smoked this pipe many times on video. I think it may have only been the last time that Dance Dad Piper was here that I smoked this pipe. But it's actually a regular smoker for me. Normally maybe about 4 times a week. And it's a desk pipe for me. This is a great pipe when I'm just sitting at my desk studying, reading, writing. Good smoker. This is the 315 KS. What the KS means, I have no idea. I'm sure some of you out there do, and you can put that down in the bucket if you like. I wanted to continue on a family story. So in my last video, I talked about my great-grandfather's first car, his Model T. If you didn't watch it, you should go back and watch it. It's a pretty funny story. Well, their old farmhouse, as I described in the previous video, is a lot like the house out of the Waltons. And across the road from their house ran the railroad tracks. And that brought a lot of interesting people to their front door. My grandmother's older sister would end up marrying one of the conductors from the train that passed by their house. And if I remember, it may have been through her husband that my grandmother met my grandfather. He worked for the telephone company, Southern Bell, and of course the telephone lines ran along those same tracks. Well, the year was 1933, and my grandparents hadn't married at this time. My grandfather laid dying in the hospital of a ruptured appendix, which had turned gangrenous, actually. And as the man in the hospital bed next to him saw the preacher leaving, their beds had been divided with a curtain. The man asked the preacher, so the man in the bed didn't make it? And the preacher said, I'm afraid not. He got married. It was a bit of a scandalous marriage, I'm sure, at the time. We ran across just the other day. My mother did a little newspaper clipping, just a little paragraph that mentioned my grandmother marrying my grandfather while he was in his hospital bed with appendicitis. She didn't expect him to live, so you have to kind of wonder what was she thinking at that time period. My grandfather apparently had been pretty successful in his ventures leading up to that. He already owned his own home. Well, I think it may have been when my grandmother had been telling the story about her father and his first car that it dawned on me one day to ask her the question, what was the first car you ever drove? And she answered rather quickly and said, oh, that would be your grandfather's car. And so, of course, I wanted to know what kind of car did he have that she learned to drive on. I thought it might just be a Model T, Model A. I mean, of course, it was the 30s, so who knew what it could have been? She said, oh, I believe I have a picture of it. And so she pulled out a photo album and turned through it. And here was a picture of her brother-in-law, her sister, my grandfather and her. They're all decked out in 1920s, 30s clothing. I thought when I first saw the picture that it kind of looked like they were on their way to rob a bank. And it would have been really would have topped the picture if they'd been holding machine guns or something. But anyway, the car behind them, she said, that's the car that I learned to drive on. It was a Duesenberg. Now, I knew that my grandfather had owned a Duesenberg, but for that to be the car that my grandmother learned how to drive on, wow. I mean, you're talking an engine that is the size of today's smart car, basically, and tremendous horsepower, and the car weighed just an incredible amount. And that was a part of the engine being so large, was to really power this big, bulky car. Can you imagine that being the first car that you learned to drive on? I don't know how long he kept it, or what the story was with the Duesenberg, but that was the first car my grandmother learned to drive on. Really something. Well, I guess I should tell you what I'm smoking in this. I'm smoking some of the Sutliff Vanilla Custard. And I will tell you, it has really moved into one of my top blends. Since getting this blend recently, I've not smoked near as much of my Country Estate or Black Cordial, and even my Best of Show has really just kind of been sitting there. This has become a go-to blend, really. No tongue bite, very pleasing room note, just an excellent smoke. Well, brothers and sisters, Dash is sound asleep, getting ready to start snoring here. I hope you have a happy Friday, a great weekend, and God bless. Say bye, Dash. Bye, Dash. Oh, that's not funny.